Good evening. Welcome in RNQ IGNOU classes. Unit 2, block number 2, Unit 2, Deism and Agnosticism. Unit 2, Deism and Agnosticism. Agnosticism. Agnosticism 2.0 objectives introduction deism its origin and definition deism various facets agnosticism its origin and definition agnosticism various dimension let us sum up keywords further readings and references objectives the main objectives of this unit is to introduce deism and agnosticism two key concepts from the world of philosophy of religion since it is not possible to give a complete and exhaustive account of these two concepts which such a limited space. The chapter aims at laying a foundation of the concept which can be built up later by further reading. The chapter looks not foundation of the concept which can be built up later by further reading. The chapter looks not only at the historical aspect of the two concepts but also examines their meaning and significance in the realm of religion and further dives deep into the philosophical implications of the same. Apart from looking into the two concepts separately, there will be an attempt to see them in the light of each other. Deism and agnosticism fall into many of the theories which have tried to explain the relation of the creator and his creation. Agnosticism is concerned with the possibility of the knowledge of the creator if any such exists at all. Therefore, an examination of these concepts in the light of the other theories in the larger philosophical conveys is another objective of the study. The chapter ends with a reflection on the relevance of the concept in the present context and their implications in the other domains of philosophy of religion. Thus, by at the end of this unit, you should be able to have basic understanding of deism to, de, to, de, defi- to differentiate deism from other forms of theism, or relate it with the development of modern science. To understand the basic idea of agnosticism and its varieties, to differentiate and relate agnosticism and atheism. 2.1 Introduction. Deism is one of those theories which tries to explain the relation of God as a creator with his creation. For this purpose they resort to the observation of nature and natural phenomena instead of taking refuge in any canonical literature of any religion. This is a view which maintains that through God has created this universe, he doesn't exercise insistent control over it. As a matter of fact, he does not intervene in any affair of this world. He configures some laws into nature while constructing this multiple world of objects, and he left this world in the supervision of those natural laws. Pierre Wright, a French thinker, probably used the term "deist" for the first time in 1564. Deism flourished primarily in the 7th and 18th century due to advent of modern science. Science challenged the theories of religion and new interpretations of religious facts wherein deemed The ideas of supernatural revelations were rejected as science started identifying create certain laws of nature. Later, it spread to France, Ireland, Ireland, North America, etc., and as a whole exercised deep influence in shaping modern world. Agnosticism, on the other hand, has its genesis in skepticism. Skeptics maintain that apart from mathematical propositions and creations tautologies, all other knowledge claims are loaded with doubt. They are certain only up to a degree. Nothing is absolutely certain. Extending this logic to the matters of religion and faith, agnostics maintain that nothing in that realm can be said with certainty. They do not claim to be theist as they think that they can't prove the existence of God, and also desist from claiming themselves to be atheists since they open that they can't disprove it either. Through this line of thought can be can be traced both in ancient Indian and Western traditions. The term agnosticism was coined by Thomas Henry Huxley in the year 1869. 2.2 Deism, its origin and definition. Deism has its etymological origin in the word Deus, a word which stands for God in Latin. In the realm of philosophy of religion, deism is mainly concerned with the relationship between the creator and his creation. Chronologically, this stream of thought can be traced to have its ge- genesis. Genesis. हाँ, in the 7th century Europe, being a part of the scientific revolution, it seems to have left its mark even in the 18th century Enlightenment period, and therefore we can read definite contribution of this theory in shaping the thoughts of modern times. Deism is neither atheism nor any kind of skepticism. It attempted to find a way between religious, neither atheism nor and kind of skepticism. It attempted to find a way between religious dogma, dogmatism and extreme skepticism, but deism is not found as a uniform philosophy throughout 7th and 18th century, as it included a range of people from anti-Christian to unchristian theists. Deism primarily maintains that through God has created the world, but he does not interfere in the activities of the same. The world functions according to certain laws, which of course he structured when he brought all these into being. God is thus wholly transcendent not at all and not at all immanent. Deists advocate observation of natural phenomena and their rational analysis as a means to know God. means to know God. There is no scope of revelation of mysticism in Deism due to the absence of controlling powers in God through the original allotment of powers is assigned to him. Deism comes very close to naturalism because in naturalistic philosophy it is the nature which practically bears the supreme power and governs everything. But Deism is neither synonymous with atheism in the sense that they do not deny in the presence of a supreme power, nor it is synonymous with theism as they don't accept the participant of that power as theists nor or atheists do in controlling the activities of this universe. God endowed the world as certain with self-sustaining and self-acting powers and then abandon it to the operation of these powers acting as second causes. Pierre Varit, a French thinker, probably used the term deist for the first time in 1564. In instruction Chaitanya in La Doctrine de la Foi, the Evangel Christian teaching on the doctrine of faith and the gospel. He opinions that deism denotes a line of thought which does accept accept the existent God even as a creator of heaven and earth, but they reject all that is described in the theology and mythology of Christianity as tales and parables. In England, the term deist first appeared in the year in the year 1621 in Robert Botton's The Anatomy of Melancholy. Lord Herbert of Cherrybury generally considered the faith of English deism enumerated the first articulated form of deism in this book, De Variate. In 1624, it proposes a theory of knowledge based upon the recognition of the innate universal characteristics of the perceived objects and completely reject any epistemology pertaining to anything supernatural in its origin and determinable in only by strife and conflict. Matthew Tyndall, an eminent English deist, wrote Christianity as old as creation or the gospel or republication of the religion of nature in 1730, which is the first standard text book of the Deism. Later came to be known as the Bible of the school. It became popular because almost every argument, quotations, and issues raised for decades can be found here. Later Deism spread to France, notably through the work of Voltaire to Germany and America. 2.3 Deism various various facts. The roots of Deism can be traced to the Heraclean conception of logos. Logos is the supreme principle for him, and he was both willing and unwilling to call it Jews God. Damios, the terminologically the terminology used by Plato for God comes very close to Dai's description of the Supreme as a craftsman. However, the word deism, as it is understood today, is generally used to refer to the movement toward natural theology of free thinking that occurred in 7th century Europe, and specifically in England. One need to study this shift to natural theology in order to understand the foundations of Deism. There was a radical change in the outlook of seventh common minds in whole Western world due to the advent of science. The whole geocentric biblical theory was challenged with the Copernican revelation. The works of Kepler and Galileo added to the uh, paradigm shift. This reduced Bible to text on faith and morality, and look its authority away from the world of nature and natural laws. Isaac Newton explained natural movements with the help of his laws motions and the principle of gravitation. The idea of certain natural laws covering the universe dominated the knowledge domain. This in turn suggested a theory in theology that through God created the world. He left it in the hand of nature, which governs its movements with its own set of laws. The explanations of various natural phenomena challenged the idea of miracle, which was highly glorified by religion. In addition, the study of classical literature led to the conclusion that some of the documents didn't have the required veracity to be relied for even the issues of faith. This gave breadth to series of biblical criticisms by rational thinkers. Thus, the whole of deism can be put as an acceptance of God by but rejection of his insistent control over his own creation. Now, through there are general agreements among the deceased regarding the basics of deceased philosophy. There are differences as well. For example, a class of disease resort to the classical Christian view that God will punish or reward us for our activities after our death, while some maintain that we face the consequence of our actions on in this life during our existence in this world only. Although did not come out of the ambit of Christianity, through they were all critical of Thus, the whole of Deism can be put as an acceptance of God but rejection of His insins- insistent control over His own creation. Now, through that, there are general agreements among the deists regarding the basic of Deist philosophy. There are There are differences as well. For example, a class of disease research to classical Christian view that God will punish or reward us for our activities after our death, where some maintain that we face the consequence of our actions in this life. During our existence in this world only, all disease did not come out of the ambit of Christianity through they were all critical of it. Classical disease like Tyndall continued regard Jews as a great moral teacher through he was opposed to the ascriptions of divinity to him. They regarded themselves as the representatives of the classical and pure form of Christianity which had existed before getting corrupt in the hands of certain domestics by the additions of mysterious concepts. All diseased and both critical but constructive approach in their philosophies all wanted to build a solid philosophical base for the guidance to human activities through eliminations of irrational elements of religious dogmatism. Some targeted the priestly class in their writings, some focused on reading of the religious scriptures, and some subscribed to the study of nature. This is the reason why Deism, like atheism and free thinking, was one of the unacceptable terms for a large section of the English society. Deism was equated with atheism. Through most of the deists agreed in many basic propositions with the Orthodox school. The Deism was a judicious mixture of both critical and constructive thinking. They allowed the wind of free thinking to blow. They allowed to wind of free thinking to blow openly, but resisted it from blowing strong enough to extinguish their faith in a creature and his primordial power to create this universe. Now, for the disease reason was the most pivotal instrument in understanding the laws of nature and their subsequent implications. Rational factually refers to the ability of interfering, judging, and apprehending. Reasoning is about agreement. Reasoning about agreement or disagreement of ideas. Affirmation Daniel but desist. Apart from accepting reason, Apart from accepting reason and rationality, also do entertain certain truths to be self-evident. Through it does not indicate any sorts of divine revelation. It is accommodated by some uh, terminologies like intuitive knowledge. Disease accepts something called the light of nature to support the self-evident nature of their positive religious claims. Disease derive the sects of their duties and practices by comparing the perfect nature of divine and imperfect nature of themselves. The acceptance of the existence of divine being is based on what they call the light of nature. God is a being who is absolute perfection and absolute bliss in himself. He is the genesis of these multiple objects of the universe. But this concept of light of nature did not stop themselves from critically engaging with the ideas in the realm of religion. No nonsense was entertained in the garb of inti- um, intuition. Orthodox Christianity tried to depict itself as a product of series of miracles. People were told to accept religious ideas with faith which they could not apprehend. Mysteries were treated as something beyond reason and not necessarily contradictory to it. But most of the deceased opposed this idea and relied on reason for gratitude. The idea of self-evident truth did not support the concept of revelation. They wanted to get the religion rid of the mysteries. The reason and rationality must be incessantly at work and caution things as far as possible. In case of conflict between reason and faith, it is reason that has to exercise to the faith's extent. Through it is thought that one needs to accept that which is not intellectually compa- uh, com- comprehensible with faith. Disease maintain that we can't make ourselves a subject of any cock and ball story for the sake of this so-called faith. They are not ready to accept evident contradictions like yellow and sake of this so-called faith. They are not ready to accept evident contradictions like yellow and blue colors of the same object at the same time without questioning it. The veracity of any religious dictum is always subject of revision and appraisal. So the older understanding that children dying before baptism do not go to heaven but are headed for some other world has no significance in Deist thinking. Deist opinion that a lot of things which are assessed to be essential for salvation can't be entertained by a rational mind. They are just observed or appear to be simply laughing stocks. These apparent contradictions of holiness on one side and absurdity on the other lead a rational thinking mind to a zone of utter confusion. Apart from that, even understanding these expositions as symbolism is not easy in the sense that there has been a variety of interpretations of these stories. What do they really signify remains still shrouded in mystery. Deceased. due to their proximity of naturalism moved towards cosmological argument. According to this argument, everything is nature is designed in such a way that it can survive in the world. Certain animals are full of feathers for the protection for heat and cold. Birds have been gifted with wings so as to fly high. Carnivorous animals have been equipped with sharp nails and specific design of teeth so to be able to prey to get food. Innumerable such examples can be cited from the observation of nature. The presence of design in every part of it indicates the presence of designer as well. This designer is none but God. There is substantial ground to infer the presence of a super creative power from the flawless natural system that makes life possible on this earth. Deism was not untouched by the age-old problem of freedom and determinism. Thus, the emphasis on design argument and conception of natural laws lead us unnecessarily to some kind of determinism was a pivotal caution of the time. The influence of modern science and especially that one Newtonian mechanics describing the whole cosmos more or less like a machine led to take tendencies of determinism. Designers had different opinion to soul and life after death. Some like Lord Hartwig, Herbert of Cherbury and William Wollstone opened that soul exists after death and as per classical Christianity is rewarded or punished by God. Some like Benjamin Franklin believed in the theory of rebirth, and some like Thomas Paine were agnostic in this regard. Yet people like Anthony Collins, Thomas Job and Peter Ennet were perfect materialists and denied any such possibility of afterlife. Disease treated the prevailing form of the religion as a pivoted form of a simple and rational religion. Described the whole deformation of to something called priestcraft of or manipulation of the religion by the priest. Common man was missed by the story of heaven and hell, and the religion was mystified with unnecessary elements. This deviation required some kind of reformation, and Deism was the product of the necessary. 2.4 Agnosticism, its origin and definition. Agnosticism comes from agnostic, which has its roots in Greek meaning without any gnosis, meaning knowledge. The term was first used by Thomas Henry Huxley. Initially, it was it was used for the rejection of any kind of transcendental knowledge, but later it acquired a broader shape and came to be treated as a method of philosophizing and examining the veracity of knowledge claims. Through agnosticism has been often identified with atheism, it actually is not so. There are people who claim themselves both as theist and agnostic, whereas there is another group who call themselves both atheist and agnostic. Therefore, Thomas Henry Huxley defines it as rejection of conclusions that are not demonstrated and demonstrable. So, Skeptic philosophers believed that apart from some mathematical propositions like the sum of all the three angles of a triangle is equal to two right angles, and certain positions like all bachelors and unmarried, which are necessarily true by their definitions themselves, all other propositions regarding the world is associated as far as its truth value is concerned with a degree of probability. They have raised serious doubts about the necessity of universal propositions like all men are mortal. Therefore, there is no basis for a perfect knowledge claim. All knowledge that we claim to have is actually not knowledge but belief. Everything attached to uncertainty, and therefore will making knowledge claims. We should be very careful. Thus, agnosticism is skepticism, but it is special in the sense that it talks mainly about those propositions which are concerned with the existence and nature of God, or absolute reality. Through this is how agnosticism is defined in the broadest terms. There are various kinds of agnosticisms which we will see in the due course of the chapter. 2.5 Agnosticism Various Dimensions. Through Thomas Henry Huxley used the term agnosticism for the first time. He is not the first and foremost to think in this line. In various cultures and philosophies, we find traces of agnosticism in various forms and ways. In Indian traditions, for example, its presence can be traced to the hymns of the Arji Vedas, which is supposed to be the oldest canonical work available in any religion in this world. The Nasadiya Sukta reads that there was neither being not nor not being in the beginning of this creation, and further goes to ask who the creator is the of his creations. It read as at first there was neither being nor non-being. There was not air, not yet sky beyond. What was it wrapping? Where in whose protection was water there unfathomable and deep? This indicates a kind of unknowability, unknowability, unknowability of the ultimate principle, and an anti-foundational stick list approach, at least in the realm of reason. The same kind of indications can be found in the writings of Pyrrho in ancient Greek philosophy. Protagoras also took the skeptical positions by declaring man is the measure of all things. In modern times, Kant becomes a champion of the limitations of human reason in the critique of pure reason. Kant maintains that the world of objects is given to us in a specific space-time background. All that we know about objects is only one face of it. Kant calls phenomena and the whole of the object or the thing in itself it called pneumonia. This pneumonia is called unknown and unknowable by Kant. The opinions that when reason tries get into the domain of pneumonia, it gets bogged up in its internal contradictions, what Kant terms as antinomies. This skeptical approach, indicated by the first unknown and unknowable facts, puts Kant also in the genre of agnostics. Apart from that, Kant criticized all the classical arguments for the existence of God, suggesting that intellectual adventures do not work in the reason of God. Kant levels room for faith in the matters of God. This is perfect intellectual agnosticism. Again, will Reading modern existentialist like Soren Kierkegaard, we can listen to the edges of agnosticism. He maintains that God, if by very definition is unknown, lead us to lot of confusion. If he does not exist, it is impossible to prove his existence, and if he does, it is folly to attempt it. Coming to some classical agnostics, Thomas Henry Huxley, who coined the term agnosticism, very simply puts it as he can रुआ चिल्लाना. Coming to some classical agnostics, चिल्लाना जानी सुनिकी. Thomas Henry Huxley, जानी बुझी आसी चिल्लाउचंती. Coming to some classical agnostics, Thomas Henry Huxley, who coined the term agnosticism, very simply puts it as he can neither affirm nor deny the immortality of man. He sees no reason for believing it, but on the other hand has no means of disapproving it. Like an open thinker, he opines that he has no a priori objections to the belief in the afterlife, but he is not ready to accept them unless they are eventually evidentially proved. In the same turn, Bertrand Russell goes to accept them unless they are evidentially proved. In the same turn, Bertrand Russell goes to express his agnosticism. He says that in the strict philosophical language, he would like to call himself an agnostic rather than an atheist, because as he can't prove the existence of God, he can't disapprove it either. Agnosticism, though seen as something uniform, actually has got many varieties. One of them is agnostic atheism. This group of people do not believe in the existence of a God, but at the same time do not claim to have evidences to demonstrate God's non-existence. The second group is called agnostic theist. This group believes in the existence of God but doesn't claim to know it. The third group believes in pragmatic agnosticism, according to which there is no proof of either existence or non-existence of God. The question is only formal in the sense that the so-called God seems to be totally indifferent to the activities of the world. There is another group called agnostics, who question the definition of God itself before entering into the debate of his existence and non-existence. They opine that the whole debate is meaningless because the very existence or deity is not empirically verifiable. Then there is another division of agnosticism, pertaining to unknowability of God. One group thinks that it is absolutely impossible to know the existence of God. Another maintains that through it is unknowable, that one day humanity might come to know about it through certain evidences. The first group is called strong agnostics, and the second group is called weak agnostic. Through agnosticism seems to be appealing at times, this line of thought has been subject of a variety of criticisms. Many religious scholars are of the opinion that there is a spiritual aspect in human intelligence which makes it capable of conceiving the sensorious reality. They are of the opinion that mere inability to grasp something does not prove its non-existence. The truth might not be revealed to larger sections of humanity, but we can decide the truth value of propositions based on the number of people who are aware of it. Agnostics are not ready to affirm the existence of God since there is no sufficient scientific evidence of empirical data to prove it, but religious scholars object that to make or even to expect God to come down and become a subject of laboratory experiment is not sensible. If the possibility of God's existence is not rejected by agnostics, they should also accept the fact that if any such divine being exists, he can't be like a mixture of certain chemicals in the chemistry laboratory. Thus, the matter of God has to be treated in different perspective altogether. By definition, God seconds the limits of human reasons and the world of sense objects. Again, Kant's position that the ultimate truth is unknown and unknowable applies only to the realm of reason and rationality. Kant himself maintains that he has kept room for faith in order to deal with God. Therefore, it is a mistake of mixed the truths of the sense data world to mix with the truths of religion. Another group of theistic scholars argue that it is practically not possible for any human being to go through his life without either being a theist or an atheist. One can't leave this pivotal question like this. A common man's values are dependent on this orientation towards the ultimate reality, which religion it identifies as God. To leave the matter undecided would again amount they argue more or less to atheism. It is better to call oneself an atheist. Atheist remark rather than an agnostic. If like strong agnostics, one maintains that God, even if he exists, is known and unknowable. These two positions are practically synonymous. So strong agnosticism boils down to atheism. 2.6 Let us sum up. In this unit, we have tried to give an outline view of the both Deism and Agnosticism. The concepts have been seen from both historical and philosophical standpoints, keeping in mind the varieties which these two concepts encompass. We have tried to through we have tried to throw light on as many of them as possible. To be precise, Deism is an evaluate of the impact of science upon human mind. Human mind through this theory also can't explain the phenomenal universe and its relation to its creator perfectly. It attempts to come out of the tendency to accept every religious dictum without questioning. That's probably the reason why they are not ready to accept revelation as an epistemological epistemological category and appeals to the court of reason and peeps into nature for certainty of knowledge. Similarly, agnostic maintain a distinct position with respect to the religious matters like soul and God and very clearly accept their limitations in knowing those things. Here we have also highlighted its difference with atheism. 2.7 keywords: theism and atheism, two views of which the former affirms belief in God and the latter denies it. Determinism and indeterminism. The former view holds that all the events are predetermined, whereas the latter contends that nothing is predestined a priori existing in the mind prior to and independent of experience. 2.8 Further readings and references. Or John English Deism, Its Roots and Its Fruits, London Edelman's 1934. Alexander Samuel, Space, Time and Deity, London Macmillan 1927. Huxley, Th. Collected Essays, Vol. 5, London Macmillan 1895. Manson, L. E.D. God and Design, London Routledge 2003. Maintained Michael Eady, The Cambridge Companion to Atheism, Cambridge University Press 2003. Smart, JJC and Helden John, Atheism and Theism, Oxford, Blackwell 2003. Can't I critique you of a pure reason? Trans N. K. Smith, London, Macmillan 1973. Dixon Thomas, Science and Religion, A Very Short Introduction, Oxford University Press 2008. Gay Peter, Deism, an Anthology, Princeton, When Nostrand 1968. Waring Graham, E. Deism and Natural Religion, a source book, New York, Friedrich Unger, 1967.